No position in American sports feels the pressure or the weight on their shoulders like a quarterback. Hopes and dreams of an entire fan base of teams ride on whether their signal caller can lead them to glory. And boy, what a matchup of two elite dudes we have in this one. Welcome everyone to Williams-Brice Stadium, home of the South Carolina Gamecocks. As we'll see, the number 15 team in the country, the Oklahoma Sooners, taking on the 6th-ranked team in the land, the South Carolina Gamecocks. For EA Sports College Football, Reese Davis with you alongside David Pollack and Jesse Palmer. Time to get this game started. The Gamecocks will get us underway with the opening kickoff. Here he comes from inside his own 5. He only needs a sliver of daylight. He is electric in the return game, and that one has the offense set up. This is what we expected. This crowd ready to make its presence known. Quick handoff. And he's not going anywhere to start the night as the home team greets their visitors rather rudely. When you reach this point in the season, these types of games, top 25 matchups, really determine whether you're going to be a contender.
Yeah, and really show what you're going to be the rest of the season. How are you going to finish strong throughout the season? You know, the first part of the season, now getting to the middle of the season, Palmer, getting a chance to show what you're about so you can finish strong.
It's a resume builder, no doubt about it. And really, there's been so much anticipation building up to this top 25 matchup. So which team can control their emotions, I think, goes a long way in who wins this one.
One of the things you love about this running back is not only can he run between the tackles, but he's also a weapon in this offense catching the football.
This crowd trying to make life miserable for this offense. Back to throw, it's Mateer. Can't make the connection on 3rd down thanks to that tough, hard-nosed pass defense, and now it's 4th down. The Sooners will send out the punt unit. He ought to be able to use his first punt to pin him deep. First one of the day is on its way. Didn't see a lot of him in that loss last week, only called on once. Making checks. Trying to start the drive with a pass. He's going to go for a big one. Oh, right through his hands. They came out attacking, wanted to impose their will, and they missed a big chance on that one. Plenty of distance between them and the sticks here on 2nd down. They'll throw again after the incompletion. Looking to scramble. Wide open downfield. Oh, he's got some space. He's at the slippery slide. Find his way and ran away from the crowd into the end zone. Touchdown, Gamecocks.
Yeah, coming into the game, you look at the stats and you say top 10 offense in scoring, so they better be able to create what? Explosive plays. Another explosive plays. They've been doing it all year long. Those plays are backbreakers. Defenses just can't contain this offense.
Kickoff unit on the field, and this defense will be called on to protect this lead. And he'll bring it back. Really disciplined job by the coverage unit to get down there and make the stop at the 19. So they start this drive from inside their own 20 at the 19-yard line. Looking for a man. It's Mateer. He's got it. Makes the tackle at the 30 after he picked up 10. Guys, Oklahoma's transition to the SEC in 2024 taught them a lesson that you might be able to get by at times without offensive consistency, but you won't thrive. So what kind of pressure, David, is the new guy under center under?
A lot of pressure, but obviously the experience, the transfer over. He was the top guy at that spot in the transfer portal. You bring in a new offensive coordinator, new weapons around him, so a revamped new Oklahoma offense. They're hoping they will match their defense, and those wins will go up and up and up.
And the offense here dialed up a really good zone beater. Give credit to the offensive coordinator. He called the right play at the right time.
To the air on first down. And he dropped it. It looked for all the world like that would be a catch, and he just got too excited. Guys, this rough start is hardly what they had in mind to start SEC play, and it's not going to get any easier.
Well, no doubt about it. There are big expectations surrounding this program inside SEC play this year, and things haven't necessarily gone their way. They've had to fight a ton of adversity, but, David, they believe they have the leadership in the locker room to turn it around, but it's got to start today.
Yeah, one at a time. Like, we got to start today. We got to find something. We got to find what we're really good at, what we can hang our hat on, so we can start to build some momentum throughout the season. Obviously not the start we wanted, but we got to point to the next opportunity.
On third and short, they'll try to pick it up on the ground here. Now with a great opportunity as they pick up the first down, they've got it at the 40.
Been really impressed watching this offense this year and how good they are on third down. The reason they're so efficient, they don't have penalties, they keep these third downs manageable, and they've got...
Intercepted, big play, stops the drive. Got some room to run. And a big return after the INT sets up the offense for this possession.
And he makes a play in the back end. Nice job reading the pass, and that's his second of the season. This guy, unbelievable job seeing the quarterback, breaking on the quarterback, and going and getting that big play.
And the South Carolina offense is back on the field. Already a solid start to this one. Now back to work with this 7-0 lead. Running back searching for a hole. He is going nowhere. Stop at the line of scrimmage.
Defense is about firing off, getting the offensive guys and staying in your gaps. Everybody knowing where they're supposed to be. You could tell the defense, everyone was right where they're supposed to be, nowhere to run.
Powers forward but stopped after a pickup of 2 to the 24.
You know, I know that wasn't a big gainer, but that's going to set some stuff up later for this offense. Trying to run the football and get it established is huge because play-action pass is a big part of what they try to do when they're throwing the ball.
And the defense gets home and makes a play at the 37-yard line.
And they get to the quarterback and get the sack. That's a big emphasis for this defense. They saw a week ago, this offense gave up 3 sacks. They need to get to him early and often and create some indecision. Nice job getting a sack early in this football game.
This drive will open from the 15. To the air, it's Mateer. Caught over the middle, it's Gibson.
I love offenses and quarterbacks that are willing to take the easy stuff. Take those easy throws that are guaranteed to get positive yards. Yeah, I'm going to take big shots down the field too. But don't forget, it's easier to pick up 2nd and 5, 3rd and 5 than it is when we start getting those long yardage situations.
They'll ride the running back and leave it with him. And he is just engulfed at the line by this giant defensive tackle.
And that's how you respond as a defense, man. You give up 9 yards on first down. 2nd down, man, they bring some pressure. They are in the backfield fast, and they make the tackle for a loss and completely flip the script. Almost a guaranteed first down on 2nd down, and now maybe even put them in a passing situation on 3rd down.
One of the things I love about this defense is they just have such great awareness, and they're always communicating. They understood the down and distance. They knew exactly what they needed to do to make the tackle to force the punt. That is so well done.
They'll put a stop to that return as he gets it up to the 41-yard line. play of the drive comes from the 41. They'll start this drive going to the air. Wide open, he makes the catch. And he ran away from the crowd, and he'll take it in. Touchdown, South Carolina!
You know, oftentimes in college football, the best offenses are the ones that can create explosive plays just like you saw right there. They're top 10 in the nation in points per game because they don't have to drive the field. They've got dudes scattered all over this offense that can take it the distance on any given play.
And the extra point pushes the lead to 14. They're set to kick it off. You think this crowd's going to get loud when their defense comes on the field? He'll take the return and try to improve the field position. Didn't find any crease in that kickoff coverage, and he'll be stopped at the 17. Plenty of time for one more snap before the end of the quarter. Back to pass, it's Mateer. Extending the play. Bought a little time, lets it go. The pass falls incomplete, and that'll be the final play of this quarter. Had a chance to talk it over during the break, and they'll start with second down. After the incompletion, they go back up top. He's got it down the left side. And they'll do more than move the chains. They'll move that thing more than 30 yards down the field before he's finally stopped. Finally, this offense starting to show a little juice. They've got a 1st and 10. From the gun, running back gets to give. They'll pick up 4, 2nd and 6 coming.
That's a really nice play. It's impressive. While it's 1st down, the defense thinks you might be running the football. You still can line up. You can get some movement at the point of attack and find a little crease for your running back.
Skips away from pressure. Slithers into space. Oh, he's getting ahead of steam. He goes out of bounds right at the 10-yard line, and the offense can smell the touchdown from here. Wants to throw on 1st down. Dances away to buy time. Can't find his man as he took a shot trying to deliver that football, and it'll be 2nd down.
Nice job by the quarterback trying to buy time and scrambling to the right, but it was the hit that forced that incompletion.
2nd down, they'll go to the air. He makes a grab, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Oklahoma!
Really nice job working the route and getting himself open. He was able to locate the football, snag it out of the air, and this guy now has 5 receiving touchdowns on the year.
They're getting set to kick it away, and that last score took a little oomph out of this crowd. He'll start the return inside his 5. He was hoping for something a little more dynamic, but they get him on the ground at the 20. They'll snap it from the 20 for the opening play of this drive. Motion from the wide receiver. Looking downfield, it's Sellers. Whoa, does he turn that loose down the middle. He's got it along the sideline. And he's brought down after a huge completion. Whole situation changed after that last big play. Now it's 1st and 10 from the 39. With the catch, it's Harbor. Across the 25, he's got room. They finally get him on the ground, and this junior turning in a big play after the catch.
You gotta love the rhythm this quarterback is in here on this drive, guys. 2 completions. He's seeing the safety rotation that time. Saw the one-on-one matchup he wanted. Took his shot. He is...
And he strides his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Gamecocks!
This offense is so good. Man, they can hurt you in so many different ways, and they do it so quick, so explosive. They can put small drives together, big drives together. They've really had a great year, and that's why they're a top 10 offense.
We check in with Kevin Connors. What's going on, Kevin?
Guys, it is now a final in the Big Ten, and a game I think a lot of folks will want to see. Michigan left little doubt. You know, this version of the Maize and Blue can hang with any of the teams of the past, and remember, this is a program with multiple national titles. Really unexpected outcome in this intriguing Big Ten matchup, and the type of loss, guys, that'll get the attention of even a good football team.
And Kevin Connors keeping an eye on everything all over the country. Sounds like they had a good one there. Got a man. It's Sategna. He steps out right at the 40-yard line, and now they are in business moving toward midfield. Starting this drive like that is exactly what they had hoped for. Now 1st and 10 from the 40. Grabbed in the middle. It's Sategna. He's brought down quickly. Minimal gain there. Still a bit short of the first down.
I really like this slot receiver because of his shiftiness, and you see that on his route run. Really, really nice job creating separation for his QB.
To the air. It's Mateer. Those two failed to make the connection. It's an incomplete pass.
The offense just has not been able to find a way to get their rhythm going here in the first half. We just haven't seen it in the passing game. That was a really good example of it again. If they're going to score more points in the second half, they've got to make some adjustments here at halftime.
That's a really good break on the football. He sees the ball come out, and he hits it right as he's catching it. Nice job of dislodging the football from the receiver. That's a good play by the defensive back.
And they'll get him on the ground as the offense comes out to start the next drive. They've got a little time here to put together a productive drive late in the half. He wants to change this route. Wants to go up top on 1st down. He's going to let one fly down the middle. It's a mid-stride inside the 10. Can't quite cross the plane to get the 6, but they'll have the 1st down. The huge play got him on the porch, but now they got a kick in the door. Let's it fly. Throw to the end zone. It's picked off. Takes the pick back to the 32-yard line, and now this offense will be in business.
And some defensive backs just have a way of finding the football, and he's starting to develop that. His 3rd interception on the season just has a good feel for playing that spot in the back end.
Just willed his way for a couple out to the 35.
Well, we know this defense is one that plays with a lot of pride, right? And part of that is their ability stopping the run. They're a top 25 unit in the nation when it comes to stopping the rush, and that really helps them out down here in the red zone. They're going to have to step up big time in this situation.
Behind the chains now on 2nd and long. Back to pass, it's Mateer. He's going to let it go. And they wanted it all on that incomplete pass. Instead, they're looking at 3rd down.
And how loud is it in this building? This is crazy. These fans are going absolutely nuts. And I used to love when the fans got involved.
He's going up top. Catch inside the 25. He flips his field in an instant, and he's got him set up at the 20. We asked earlier this week, who's your favorite receiver? And, of course, he said the open one. But we know who he really wants to go to on 3rd down.
The best one. I mean, I think the open one, obviously the politically correct answer, but you want to find the guy that you got that great chemistry with. You know exactly where he's going to be. You got that bond and that trust.
From the red zone, it's up. And the defense holds firm. No pickup at all on that play. Man, oh man, the ball carrier was just shut down.
And I tell you what, they need some push up front too, right? They got to move those defensive linemen out of the way. At least create a hole so your running back has a chance. Not there, he didn't have it.
Didn't get much on 1st down. It's 2nd and 9. Back to pass. Flushed out of the pocket. It's complete to the right. Takes it all the way down to the 4 after making the grab, and they're set up. Timeout called here by the defense. It's their 1st of the half. And this is a really important series of plays, a chance to cut into the lead just before halftime. Can't make the grab. Quarterback just missed him a little bit.
Well, that
that last incompletion is a good example of why your timing has to be so good as a quarterback, because the windows, they open and they close so quickly in this part of the field.
They'll give it another shot on 2nd and goal from the 4. Defense going to jam these receivers right off the line. Trying to ball his way in. And he's on his way. He'll go all the way. Touchdown Sooners.
And I tell you what, that passing touchdown, man, that should spark this whole team. Like, the comeback is more than on now. Like, they got the touchdown. They cut into the lead. You want to get a stop and go into the half, get all the juices, all the excitement, and be like, listen, the passing game's rolling. We got this. The comeback's in full effect.
From inside the 10, here he comes. Not a lot of space to be found. Good hustle by the coverage team, and they stop him at the 21. They take over late in the half, enough time to put together a drive. Wants to throw. It's Sellers. Here's the pressure. Hit hard just as he released it on 1st down and just couldn't get it to the receiver.
This QB has had a lot of success all day long, throwing for so many touchdowns, looking very comfortable. Finally, the defense gets to him. Finally, the defense gets a win. They needed something to go their way. Got to start getting some more hits on this guy.
So now it's 2nd and long. Wants to go up top. They get to him as he throws. Got him in the open. And he'll have to check his fillings after that lick, but he did get the 1st down. The magic bean is spinning out of control. Already over 200 yards in the 1st half.
Yeah, they're being aggressive offensively, throwing the football, trying to take advantage of this defense on the back end. They've got their quarterback right now in a groove.
Now they'll line it up from the 44 on 1st and 10. Motion from the wideout. Looking downfield on 1st down. He fires to the left side. Oh, he had it. The deep ball was there, and it just trickled through his fingers.
And we've already seen this movie early in this football game, and he already has a touchdown, and they're seeking him again. And there's a reason. He can run, right? Like, he's one of their go-to guys on the outside, and you can tell they're trying to use him early and often in this offense.
Working well behind the sticks on 2nd down. After the incompletion, back to the passing game. Grabbed over the middle. It's Brown. Stopped after a good pickup, and he'll be just a tad short of the 1st down. Offense calls a timeout here. Critically important to make sure they have the right play call and everyone on the same page here. Wants to throw on 3rd down. Unloads it left. Pulls it in. They'll mark him down right there, but it is a big play, and they'll move the chains. This dude is just exceptional in every facet. So fluid, such a great route runner, and a big play there.
And money down, 3rd down, find it. I mean, you want to find that match.
Unleashes one deep. Touchdown, Gamecocks. The finisher and the exclamation point on that drive.
And that's the way you execute on offense, man. You keep your foot on the gas, try to make this a 2-score game. You do with that touchdown. This offense executing beautifully. The defense is going to have to find something in the 2nd half to get some stops.
They add the extra point to finish the drive. And he'll just take a knee, and this drive will start at the 25. They'll put this one in play. First snap of the drive from the 25. Looking to pass. It's Mateer. Here comes the heat. And this will be incomplete. A big hit there forces 2nd down.
We know about this running back's versatility. He's made some plays in this game so far, catching the ball. That time, though, he had no shot. Defender bearing down on him. They're able to get the hit and make sure it falls incomplete.
Right back to the air on 2nd and 10. Trying to burn this defensive back. And it's incomplete after taking a shot on second down. They're staring at third.
Well, the offense is doing their best to try and at least get into field goal range here at the end of the first half. So they take a vertical shot down the field, but give the defense credit. Lots of eyes back there on the quarterback. They're able to break on the ball and make sure that throw falls incomplete.
Third and long, and he'll try to throw for it. He'll take another shot here. And they can't hook up on the big play, and that brings up a fourth down.
This is going to be a tough situation for the offense here. Late in the first half, they're trying to find a way to generate some points before going into the locker room, but the defense is ready for it, so the windows are not going to be very big.
And he muffs it, a loose football. They make the stop, but there is a penalty marker down. Let's see what the call is. The officials offer the deal, and the coach accepts it. They will take the penalty. They'll have just enough time to get one more snap before the half. Might be changing the route. Looking to throw on first down. Fires deep toward the end zone. Oh, he dropped it. That deep ball was right on the money. You just have to make that catch. That's the end of the second quarter. That means it's time to join Kevin and our halftime update.
28, Oklahoma, 14.
And the Sooners will kick it off to start the second half. Fielded in the end zone. It's Bennett. Nice job by the kickoff team. Everybody stayed in their lanes, and they'll stop him at the 16. Start from the 16-yard line. He'll start this third quarter with a run. He found a hole, got about 5. He's down at the 21.
Here's the thing. Not a great run, but the offense has scored a ton of points. They haven't necessarily needed to have a strong running game in this one. Their quarterback right now is just playing lights out, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'd get back to throwing the ball.
Halfway there on first down, it's 2nd and 5. To throw, it's Sellers. Still looking, on the move. Complete downfield. Building momentum, picking up a chunk of yardage, moving the chains out to the 34. Now, LaNorris Sellers was sensational down the stretch last season when the Gamecocks won 6 of 7 games. Sellers threw 18 touchdowns, only 3 picks. What would you like to see from him, David, for the Gamecocks to become a force in the SEC?
It's not running, Reese. Like, we saw the physicality in the big runs like throughout the season, especially against Clemson ending the season last year. But to me, it's the passing game. It's the staying on schedule. It's knowing his answers and making the easy play sometimes. Continue to evolve as a passer with that big, strong body, and you better look out, college football.
Looking to throw on first down. They've got the screen set up. They've got him now. He almost picked up that first down on the screen.
Well, a nice gainer on that running back screen. Now, how about the offensive line getting downfield and getting blocks to really help out the back, find some space to go to work?
Looking left. He just missed the target on that one. Got to put it on his body.
And I tell you what, I know it's little when these QBs miss and the ball's not right to him, but man, it makes such a difference with yards after the catch, and in this case, even catching the football. It was just a little bit off, and it just made it a little bit difficult for his wide receiver to try to make the catch.
He unleashes a long one. And he slipped through the crowd, and Hill has it. Touchdown, South Carolina! They are seizing control and taking away hope as they push out the lead in this Week 8 showdown.
And I think in the pre-snap, I think both of these guys were on the same page. They had a defensively that let them know we can pitch this thing way down the field. I'm going to go run under it and make a big play.
Yeah, when I'm the receiver, I'm like, I'm open. Right? I'm going straight down the field, throw the football. I got the speed. I can beat this guy. You can tell they've done that so much in practice. They knew it was second nature, and they executed it perfectly.
Kickoff unit back to work, and they have been busy as they've built this sizable lead. And it'll be a touchback. The ball will come out to the 25-yard line. The drive starts from their own 25-yard line. Looking downfield, it's Mateer. Quarterback strolling away from Heat. Creates a little room. It's loose. Oh, unfortunate to get that one back. And as an added bonus, they get the first down.
You know, quarterbacks practice ball security as well throughout the week, and he has to do a better job of keeping two hands on the ball. He knows this defense is trying to rip it out. They're trying to get a hat on the football. He's lucky that he was able to recover his own fumble there.
And sticking to the run. I tell you what, a lot of teams that are really good are really stubborn, and they continue to run the football even with little success. So this offense is going to continue to focus on running the football, you can tell.
Got 3 on first down at 2nd and 7. QB draw. The draw draws nothing except a swarm of tacklers. He's stopped immediately.
Great job by the defense that time, bowling up. You're on your own goal line, so you've got to be great against the run, and they forced that ball to go to the outside, use their speed to bring the ball carrier down.
The secondary walks up on the line, showing press coverage. Pressure coming. Intercepted. Man, they just can't get anything going. And they capitalize not only on the pick, but on the great return to improve this field position.
And that is elite third down defense. First of all, you get them in 3rd and long, and then you look to the go-to guy. Jesse, I am committing my resources to him because I know he's a freak, and I know you as a quarterback, you're trying to find that dude.
Yeah, and it's hard. 3rd in California to convert that. Doesn't matter how good your receiver is, and this dude's obviously one of the best in the country, but the defense, they were all over it. They were ready for it, and they get the big pick.
Touchdown, Gamecocks! And they add 6 more to the board with that trip to the house. Well, just as you would expect, that didn't take very long.
It didn't, Reese, and you've got to make great field position count. When you've got opportunities, you got to pay it off. And the offense took advantage, scoring a touchdown. Didn't have far to go, but they got the points they needed.
The kick is up and good, and put 1 more on the lead. And let's check in with Kevin Connors in the studio. Kevin?
Hey, guys, just wanted to give you a quick update on a game happening in the Big 12. BYU has the lead right now, but this LaVell Edwards Stadium crowd is restless. They just haven't been able to separate themselves yet today. They're up by 7 over Utah. We'll circle back if anything big happens in this Big 12 clash of the Titans, guys.
And how about that one? Kevin will be keeping an eye on everything going on elsewhere. They'll put this one in play. First snap of the drive from the 25. A collision, and he stopped at the 27 after picking up 1.
And I think this has probably been the most surprising thing of this game so far. This guy's one of the best running backs in the entire country. They just can't get him going. He's never been able to get into a rhythm. You got to give the defense so much credit because they have been able to shut this guy down, and they got to keep that up here in the second half.
I like the QB here. Very decisive, understanding I get the ball to my slot guy, he can make plays after it. Like the quickness, the speed, the elusiveness. You watch him, man, just he catches the football and a big play can happen. And you saw after the catch, man, he's got some wheels.
It's an offense that takes pride in being physical. They try to get it going on the ground, but no gain on that one.
Just nowhere to run, not a lot of wiggle room for the ball carrier.
This defense came in knowing that they had to match their physicality. Let's see if they can keep it up.
They'll throw it to the back on the screen. And he's able to bounce off 1 tackle for a solid pickup. Running backs just have to be a weapon in the passing game, even for little dump-offs and checkdowns.
Yeah, find your matchups. I mean, you think about running back versus a linebacker. We like that matchup in space, and so find ways to get the football to your running back in space where you can break tackles and make things happen because they're just so dynamic.
With the break, they had a little extra time to dial something up for this third down play. DB's right up on the receivers. On third and short, just trying to get enough for the first down.
That is how it's done on third down and short. No doubt about it. An easy hole to get through and clearly get the first down.
If you really want to simplify football, the low man wins. That time the offense got the better of the D. Easily picked that up.
They'll give it to him again. Stop behind the line. He'll lose a yard.
Yeah, and this offense has to find a way to run the football. They got to get more creative, but whatever that looks like for this offense, something to jumpstart them because nothing really going on the ground.
Yeah, defensively, though, you got to give them credit, too, because they knew that physically they were going to try to be challenged up front. That was a big MO for this offense coming into it, but the defense, they've risen to the occasion. Their front seven has dominated this entire game.
And this is a tough spot for QB, man. Like, he knows he's down big and has to make big plays down the field, but also got to be smart because this defense, you can tell, bringing in extra bodies, playing the pass, maybe take the dink and dunk, let your guys make some plays because they are definitely playing the deep end.
And they won't be able to connect downfield, looking for a big-time play.
Well, trailing this much in the fourth quarter, the offense is looking for an explosive play to try to ignite them and get them back in this one, but nothing doing. Nice job in coverage.
Down by multiple possessions, they can't come up empty on this drive in the fourth quarter. They'll go for it on fourth down. Unloads to the wideout. And he throws another interception, his third of the night. And they'll close in on him after a good return on the interception.
And that's a really good job by the defense, understanding the situation of football. It's fourth down. It's late in the game. You got a multi-possession lead. Take away all the deep stuff. Make them force the football into coverage. They do, and they stamp this game.
They'll run it. They want to take their time here. The offense very fortunate to get that ball back. That penalty moves the ball back 10 yards. We'll replay the down.
Here we go. Right. Combo. 180.
They'll leave it with him. Not much running room there thanks to this senior defender.
And here's the mindset if you're on offense. Fourth quarter, you've got a huge lead. Obviously, you're going to run the football, but just be aware of the clock. You don't want to snap it too quickly. You're probably just doing safe runs inside the tackles like you saw right there. You just got to execute. You got to be aware, but you've got this game in hand so long as you don't turn it over.
The give on the counter. And how about the work up front by that big defensive line?
Awesome job up front by this defensive line, being so good at the point of attack and eating blocks, eating some double teams that allows these linebackers to run free, unencumbered, and get to the football.
On third and long, no secret what he needs here. And that did not work. Defense smelled that one out from the beginning. Clock stops. We have reached the 2-minute timeout, and this offense just a couple of minutes away from putting one in the win column. And the Gamecocks will try to pin them back with the punt. 3 and out, and not much choice but to get rid of the ball. They make the stop, and that is exactly what you want out of your punt cover unit.
First and 10.
First play of this drive comes from the 14-yard line. They'll move the wide receiver. Using his legs, it's Barnes. And he finds enough running room, and he's marked down at the 20.
really nice play call by the offense, too. Obviously, your quarterback's throwing picks on his last 2 drives, so you have to settle him down. And the best way to settle...
Turning on the Jets. There he goes. He'll step out of bounds right at the 44. A big-time pickup on that one.
Well, one of the things I love about these misdirection-type plays is that you can pull offensive linemen and get extra bodies at the point of attack. So you're setting yourself up with good angles if you execute it properly, David. You saw it right there.
And saying the word angles means a lot because that's exactly what you do. Now I can block down and I can leave somebody unblocked, pull around, kick him out, use misdirection in the backfield. Really just get your eyes as a defense on something else and then go the other direction. Nice misdirection play call by this offense.
He's like a loose bowler, just caroms his way to the 32. The Sooners in a good spot here with 2nd and short. They get the W, and with that being win number 6, looks as if they're going bowling, guys.
And that's a good moment for this squad, right? Like, you start every season, you have big goals. It usually starts with your conference championship and winning a national championship, maybe going to the playoffs. Everybody has different goals, but getting to a bowl is always sweet, and this team's eligible now.
I know the coaches are really happy about this, the AD and the fans, because they know what it means for the program, right? You're going to get those 15 extra practices at the end of the year to help develop young talent. Looking ahead to next season, but that's next season. There's still a lot of football left to go this year. Let's just see how good of a bowl game they can get to.
That's going to do it from here. For David Pollack and Jesse Palmer, I'm Reese Davis, and you've been watching another presentation of EA Sports College Football.